Hello guys, in this video we'll see some real physics. So as of now we were not applying real physics so far. So to check the physics, first we'll create our character. So now we have our dummy player ready. So we'll add some code to it. So for that we'll create a player script. And one more thing guys, in this video I didn't notice and the video quality isn't very good, so the code is not very much visible. So for that what I'm going to do, I'll provide you code link at the end of the video, and in the description also, video description will provide you the code link, and maybe at the end I will try to add the code snippet as well. So you can watch the video a bit forward, and then there you will find the code a bit clear. So in the player script, I have written one code where when you press a space, when you press a space key, so we are changing transform position, and we are setting it to new position where x will be the same whatever position x value is, z will be same whatever the position was, but for y, what we are doing is we are increasing the y value by 10. So we are increasing the y value by 10. So this will be the new position. X is same, whatever the position was, y z is also same, y we are incrementing by 10. So we'll see the code in action. So I'll apply this script to the player and then we'll try the game. Okay. So I have applied player script to this player, and we'll play the game and we'll press the space button and we'll see what happens. So now because of the code, when I press the space button, its Y position will be increased by 10. So it will go up. Whatever the value is plus 10 will be added. So when I press the space button, it will go up. And after that, because of gravity, it should fall down. So we'll see that in action. So its position will be changed. Okay, so we can see that. And no matter where it is, when I press space bar, again it will go to the height of 10. And because of gravity, it will fall down. If I press space continuous, it will always increment the height by 10. So this is not a real jump if we can see. And also we can see that my body is falling down. So I want to stop it. So for that also we can use some properties in the rigid body. So we'll see that. In the rigid body, there are some constraints which says freeze position XYZ. So this way we can freeze the X or Y or Z coordinate, so that will not change at all. And this says rotation. So rotation, I don't want this body to rotate around Y axis. This will stop from falling. So if I change the Y, okay, this is rotating in this direction. We need it. Y rotation is needed. X is falling in this direction, and Z will be falling in this direction. So we don't want X and Z rotation. So I will put the constraint freeze rotation X and Z. Now it should not rotate and or fall down. So we'll just see that again. So what I have done in the rigid body, I have in the constraint I have constrained its rotation along Z and X axis. Okay, so now I'll press the space bar. It falls down, but it doesn't like fall down on the road because the gravity it comes down, but it doesn't fall down on the road. Okay, but still, this is not a real jump. This just changed the position very fast from ground till 10, and then with the gravity it falls down. So we'll see how to make it a real jump. So for that, we'll use rigid body property only. So we'll change the script and we'll use some force. So for that we need a rigid body, and like the transform is available with the script with the name transform. So transform component, which is one of the component of the game object. So transform is available in the script with the name transform. But for the other components, we can get these components using some function that I'll show you. I'll create a variable of type rigid body, name it RB. Then I'll initialize RB. So how to get the rigid body component? So for that we have the function get component. And inside these brackets, small brackets, we have to give what component we are interested in. So I'm interested in rigid body. So this way we'll get the rigid body. Now instead of this method, which was changing the position and increasing the Y by 10, I'll add another method which is rigid body. So on the rigid body component, we have a predefined method which is called add force. So add force method I'm going to use. You can see that add force has multiple versions. Add explosion force, add position, relative torque. So this torque functions we will be using in our car object, car wheels. So we'll apply torque, which is kind of a force on rotational force. It is part of advanced physics, maybe you'll learn later, but some force will apply on the wheels and that will cause car to move, or that will force car to move. Here in this player, I will add the force, and this force, it has a direction and mode, so I will use this. So direction I will keep up, so vector 3 direction, and I have to apply the force also. For that, I'll have a function float force. Call it jump force. And by default, I'll give a value of 10, 10f, and I'll make it public so that it will be available in the editor also to change. We'll multiply with jump force. And there is another mode which is force mode. How we want to add the force. So since this is jump, so it will be impulse mode. So now I have changed the code, and the code is, instead of just changing the position of the game object, we will be adding force to the game object using rigid body component, and force will be applied in up direction. The code like this. So instead of changing the position, we are adding a real force in upward direction with some jump force, and the force mode is impulsive. So it will apply in an impulsive mode. Impulsive force will be applied. So now we will see, we'll play the game and see how this works. Okay, so we have the player, and when I press the space bar, now we can see that it is kind of real jump. So this way, for the movement, we should use real physics, and for jumping, now I am not using transform property, but I am using rigid body to add force, apply force in up direction. If the force, this force looks large to me, so we can reduce the force amount, which was 10 earlier, so I can make it maybe 1 or 2. Okay, so I've reduced the force in the play mode, so I'll make it 2 and see how it, now we can see the jump is very small, very less. Maybe I'll make it 4. Let's see, 4 is a bit high. Maybe 6. 6 looks good. So we can have jump force equals to 6. Also, we can see that in the rigid body we have lots of properties. One of the properties is mass, which is directly implies weight of the player or weight of this game object. So regular weight, I can keep it 60. Gravity is enabled. Okay. So now what's happening is I made the weight 60, and when I'm pressing the space bar, the body is not moving at all. Why? Because of the weight, now we have to apply. Earlier the weight was 1, and with this we applied the force of amount 6, it was moving. But when we increase the weight by 60 times, with the force amount 6, this is not moving at all. So maybe I will try a force 60 and see if it is moving. So with 60 force, the movement is very small. The jump, since we increase the weight by 60 times, and but we increase the force by 10 times only, we'll maybe increase it by 100 times. No, let's make it 200, or sorry, 300. So 300 looks good. We can also make some games where continuously car will be coming, and we have to go touch the finish line by avoiding the car. So when the car will come, we might have to jump and touch the finish line in the minimum time. So we might be running on the track. If the car is coming, we will jump it to skip the car and all. There is one flaw. If I press the space button continuously, it goes high and high and high. But in real world, it takes the support of ground only to jump. It cannot jump from air. So for that also we might have to change some code that we'll not consider now. So this is how, by adding real physics, or we apply force to make a real jump. Similarly, we'll apply some force to the car wheels, which is called which is rotational. That will be rotational force, and which is called torque. So we'll apply the torque on the car wheel to move the car, and we will. There is a special kind of colliders for car wheels, which is called wheel collider, and we will use the wheel collider to make the car move. So for now, I'll remove my player from the scene. We'll see the same example with the example of football. So I'll create a football, create an empty body, again empty game object, call it football. So inside the football, I'll add a sphere. This is okay. This is fine, and I'll apply other properties like rigid body as well as collider. This I will circular collider, no sphere collider. So sphere collider is perfectly fits the body size, so this is fine. Now my football doesn't look like a football, so for that we'll create a football material. So how to do that? Again, we'll download some texture, football texture from Google. So for that I'll search for football texture. Drag it and drop it in the textures folder. Now I can create a material with this texture, or directly drag and drop it on this sphere, and it will automatically create material for me. Let's try. So we can see that football is created, and one material is also created with the same texture. So now if I play the game, since it has rigid body and all, so it should work. I'll make the football weight maybe 1 kg, 2 kg, 1 kg. 1 kg is fine, and I'll apply clear script to this as well. Force 10, make it 6. Now let's try the game. So now we can see that if I press the space button, it should jump. We can see that when it falls down, it just stick to the ground. But real football doesn't stick to the ground. They bounce back again, and after some time they settle down. So for that also we have something called physics material, and we will see that later. I'll just show you that. So here we have physics material, and inside we have these properties like bounciness, how it should bounce and all. So we can use this. We'll see it later. So how to apply these physics material to add those bounciness. But for now, this is my football. Now I'll change my script to move the football forward, backward, or in other direction. We'll change the script for that. So if I use this script, which is up arrow, down arrow, move back and front, let's use this script. Let's use only half of it, which is move forward and move backward. Since the same script is applied on the car also, so maybe both of them will move together. Speed value, speed value. I'll keep the speed value as 10, which is same for the car. Speed value is 10. So now this football also will move. If we move, press the up arrow, so it will translate in forward direction with the speed 10, and back arrow, down arrow, it will move back with the same speed 10. Okay, so now if I press this forward arrow, so you can see that this football is being, it looks like it is being dragged. It is not a real football movement, it is getting dragged. So this is again not a real, not like real game. This is again not like a real game or real football. So instead of again translate, what we are doing is we are translating. So instead of transform or translate, we will apply force in forward direction. If you press up arrow, we will add force instead of dragging it. So force will make a real movement. So we'll see that. Okay, so instead of again transform or translate, I'll use add force. So using the rigid body dot add force. In this case, the direction will be forward. And apply some movement force, which may not be same as jump force. Create another variable for that. Call it move force forward into move force, and force mode in this case will not keep impulse, will keep accelerate or force, what this force does. And same we'll use for backward, but this time the direction will be back. So when you press the space button, this will happen. So force will be applied on the up direction. And some other code, which is if you press arrow instead of translating, which is dragging behavior, instead of dragging in the forward direction, we will apply force in the forward direction. And same if you down arrow, instead of dragging downward or backward, we will apply force in backward direction on the rigid body. So the player should have a rigid body attached, and that's how we get the component, rigid body component, and then we use it to apply forces. Okay, so with this add force, we'll see how the football moves. Okay, so now if we press forward button, now we can see that the football is actually moving like real football. It's rolling, not being dragged. But the car is not moving like a real car, it is getting dragged. So on the car we'll apply some forces so that it will follow the physics and move like a real car, like the way we have done for the football. Similarly, for the left right movement also, you can add forces in the left and right direction so that the football can move in all direction. And if you press forward as well as left button both, then in two direction force will be applied and it will move in between. So if you want to move like this, we have to apply forward force as well as left force. You will see this in the bigger screen. Also, we can use the jump button to space bar to jump the football. We can see some real physics here. Also, I have put the code for this class to this place. I'll provide the link of the code in the video description. And going forward, I will use it the same site which is GitHub to place all the code of each class, and will provide the link of the code. So in this, we were creating player script, but we modified the script one by one, step by step. So this is the first step, which is player.cs, and after that I made some changes. So I renamed the file as player next, but you can keep the same file name, like player is the file name and content is some extra is added here. So we are adding jump force. This is the first script. This is the jump force and player final. This is the final class where we have the final code that I used for the football, for jumping as well as moving forward and backward. So you can use this code. You can check the class name, which is I have final. File name is also final. So in your case, it won't be final and all. You should have only player file with the name player, and the content you will keep on changing. You can refer the video for this thing. Just to everything step by step, I have created 3 files with 3 different names, and then code inside that. So I'll also provide these links in the description, YouTube video description.